Give on the go. Give with ease. Seven platforms, one system. Give from everywhere. SecureGive.
We're talking today about non-cash and end-of-year giving. End-of-year giving, of course, is a huge time for most churches and nonprofits ministries for giving because there's so much tax benefit to people donating by the end of the year. And non-cash, specifically stock and crypto donations, really can play a huge part in that, especially this year. So we really want to dive into that topic. I'm excited to introduce our guest to you today. His name is James Lawrence. He is the co-founder of Engiven, who is our partner for cryptocurrency and stock donations. And they really are leading the way in providing easy, streamlined digital ways for people to be able to donate complex assets like stock and cryptocurrency. So James, thank you for being here. We're ready to go ahead and jump on in. Actually, let me say one more thing before we jump on in. If you have any questions as we go through this webinar today, we absolutely want to answer those. So in the bottom of your window, you should see a Q&A button. If you open that box up, there is a place here you can ask questions. We will answer those as best as we can as we go through the webinar, but we'll also have some dedicated time at the end for Q&A. So please take that chance to put those questions in the Q&A panel, and we will get to those as we go and again at the end. So with that said, welcome, James. We're glad you're here today.
Thanks, Greg. It's awesome to be here. And as always, I want to get a chance to speak with you and your amazing clients. It's fun and it's a super exciting time. And we are right in the heart of end of the year giving. And so this is the perfect time to talk about donating non-cash assets. So excited today. We have a bunch of interesting stats and points to go through, and then ask your questions as you go. And our goal here today is for you to come away with just some really quality information that you can use, hopefully to grow your ministries. So let me go ahead and just share my screen, and I think we're good to go. Does that look good, Greg?
Looks great. All
right. So end of the year giving with crypto and stock. Let's start with today's webinar in terms of what we're going to cover. So we're going to cover a little bit of crypto and stock giving stats, because stats are always good. Why non-cash giving matters, why a digital non-cash giving solution is best, a SecureGive demo of both crypto and stock giving, which looks awesome, by the way, and then a time of Q&A. So as Greg said, tee up your questions. We'll try to cover as much as we can along the way, but we'll certainly have a little time for Q&A at the end. So let's get started. What are non-cash donations? I like to provide a little bit of context because sometimes non-cash can mean different things to different people. And I like to just say it's anything other than a credit card, ACH, and cash. So for today, for our discussions, we're talking about non-cash relating to cryptocurrency and stock due to the ability to make these donations via a digital process. And I think that's really important because what we're trying to do is take what have been generally complex, difficult assets to donate and streamline the process through a digital interface. So that's how, so there are other things. People can donate cars. I'm sure your ministries have received other types of non-cash assets, which are all wonderful. But today we're talking about crypto and stock specifically. So let's talk a little bit about stock donation stats. About 62% of Americans own some stock, so a large portion. It's estimated that about $20 billion worth of stock is donated by individuals each year. The average stock gift is around $5,000. And about 1 in 10 ministries have received a stock gift, mostly through a donor advised fund like National Christian Foundation. So your ministry may have received a stock gift. You may have a brokerage account where givers are able to transfer some stock, some securities or whatnot directly into your brokerage account. And that's great. This will potentially be additive to that or simply replace it. But a lot of ministries do receive stock gifts. Oftentimes people will make a stock gift through a donor advised fund like NCF or Fidelity or Schwab Charitable or whatnot. And the result is you receive a cash grant from that DAF. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. So crypto donation stats. About 15 to 20% of US citizens own some crypto. My guess is this number is going to be quite a bit higher after the year we've had, because Bitcoin made an all-time high of $100,000 per Bitcoin last night. Many of the altcoins kind of ride along on Bitcoin's tails. So the crypto markets are definitely up. About 1 to 2% we like to call whales, and these are people who generally have had crypto for a long time. They have a lot of appreciated crypto, and they're able to donate a six-figure donation or more. And the average crypto gift is about $15,000, and that number's been really consistent for the 6+ years we've been providing crypto giving services. It's actually up quite a bit. I'd say it's closer to 25,000 this year. But this has been a great year. And our largest crypto gift to date is 15 million. So crypto gifts do tend to be major gifts. I'm not saying everyone gets $15 million gifts. That's not it. But there's a lot of major gifts that roll through. And this is not public information, but I thought it was kind of exciting to share that we'll process more than 75 million in crypto donations just for ministries this year. In fact, we're well past that at this point. And that just demonstrates that cryptocurrency, I know there's been a lot of sort of debate about its use or its previous use or how it was originated or whatnot. The reality is that this year we'll turn more than $75 million worth of crypto into US dollars that ministries can use to grow their effectiveness and to spread the gospel, which is amazing. Okay, so why non-cash giving matters? The first is that non-cash assets are the majority of what we own. So about 80% of a household's net worth is tied up in non-cash assets. These assets include real estate, stocks, securities, bonds, business ownerships, and interests and whatnot. So it's not that these are assets that are sort of easy necessarily to donate right away. But what it demonstrates is that, in the church and in ministries, we're often asking folks to donate. Just donate cash via credit card, ACH, or what have you. And we're often leaving potential opportunities on the table because we're not asking about non-cash, which is the majority of what people own. So I think it's an important part. It's also the transfer of wealth that's happening in America right now is a massive number, and a lot of that is tied up in assets that are going to be liquidated at some point or transferred at some point, and something along the lines of $10 trillion is going to be donated to nonprofits in the next 20 years from that transfer of wealth. So exciting times with non-cash. And again, it's the majority of the assets that we own. Non-cash donations, as I mentioned earlier, are major gifts. While these assets are traditionally more difficult to donate, they also tend to be much larger than cash gifts. So I think the average cash gift is still somewhere around $150 if it's cash or credit card. We're seeing $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 on average for gifts of crypto and stock. And then lastly, non-cash donations provide excellent tax benefits for donors. And I don't think we can stress this enough, that appreciated assets like crypto and stock can be donated without the donor paying capital gains tax. And it's really important because it's kind of one of the last really great tax advantages left that we as individuals enjoy. And that's, when you buy an asset low and you donate it, and it's worth a lot more than when you purchased it, you have this great sort of synergy where it's great for the donor and great for the ministry. And as an example, I just wanted to give kind of a simple non-cash donation example to show how the gifts of stock benefit both the giver and the ministry. So say, for example, you bought some Amazon maybe 10 years ago, you bought $5,000 worth, and it's now worth $25,000. So it's gone up 5x. You have this nice $20,000 capital gain. If you were just to sell the stock, you'd basically make $20,000 in profit. You'd have a gain of 20 grand. The capital gains tax you would owe would be roughly $5,300 on that. And then donating the remaining amount of that gain would net about $14,700 for the charity or the ministry in this case. And then the charities, the taxable credit for that individual would be about $6,600 and change. Now, alternatively, if you were to donate that same stock to charity, you would see that capital gain tax is now zero because you're donating it. The charity receives the full $20,000 donation, and the tax credit the individual donor who donated it is over $9,000. And so it's really just a win-win. It works exactly the same with crypto as it does with stock. And it's, as I mentioned, just a really powerful way for individuals who bought. I mean, there are people that bought Bitcoin when it was at $100 or $1,000. It's now at 100,000. There are people that bought Amazon, when it was at 20. So the capital gains aspect of it is really beneficial to avoid by donating it, and people end up donating a lot more than they would otherwise.
And hey, James,
Yeah.
as we kind of go through this, one thing I want to just kind of put in the minds of the church leaders and pastors that are joining us today is we talk all the time in church about giving. We talk about financially giving. We talk about volunteering and giving of your time. But we are called as Christians, as believers, to give, to acknowledge everything we have comes from God and to give generously out of everything we have. And so I guess just kind of this is a topic that people don't necessarily think about as a resource that they have, a God-given resource that they have, and they have opportunities to honor God and to give to the work of the church with these specific resources. So it's something that I want to encourage church leaders to actually think about and talk about. Now, someone just asked a question if we have any templates or email samples, that kind of thing that we can share. And we absolutely have some that we can share, and we'll share them following this webinar over the next few days. But that's a great thing to do, especially in this end of year time, is with your different, in particular, email communications, making it clear that obviously there's opportunities to give dollars, to give, ACH, credit card, debit card, cash, check transactions, all those kinds of things. But make sure people know that they do have those opportunities to give those assets like cryptocurrency, like stock, and to, what you just showed, James, the tremendous benefit to both the giver and the organization that's able to receive that. So now is absolutely a crucial time to be talking about that. And of course, in a minute, we'll talk about some ways to make that easy for everybody, both the church and the donor. But before we move on, I just wanted to just mention that. Just make sure you're making it clear that these non-cash assets are a way that you can honor God with those resources that you have.
Yeah, I mean, a great point, Greg, and it's also just good stewardship, personally, of people have asked, all along the way as we've started out with crypto and moved into stock and securities. Why is it better to donate? Why is it better to donate, stock or crypto when I could just, sell it and donate the cash? And it really just is not a great stewardship move to do that. You're just giving up taxes that you don't need to give up, and you're giving less to the ministry that they would otherwise receive. So it's good stewardship, and I think being smart with how we manage our assets and donate our assets is, I think that's honoring to the Lord. So great point. And we can certainly talk more about that. So back to the webinar. So why a non-cash digital giving solution is best. Let me get here. Your givers are already trained to give electronically, and I think that's kind of a key point of sort of where we are in the history of giving, is that over the last 10 to 15 years, our givers have really learned how to give digitally. They're comfortable with it. They trust it. And they now expect it. And you also have younger, sort of the millennials are now getting a little bit older. They're starting to make money. They're buying homes, and they're starting to give more. And they have never given. They've never written a check. A lot of them. I know my kids will never write a check in their lifetime, and so they're used to giving electronically. And I think that making crypto and stock a digital giving experience is incredibly important to those of us who have kind of grown up with a digital experience, digital interface, and there's expectations there too by those individuals.
James, as you're talking about that, the future of giving and how people are doing that now. Just as an example, if you go back, several years, using something like Apple Pay to give was not really on people's radars. It was, why not just save your card information and, whatever. But now so many people do all their transacting, or the majority of their transacting through Apple Pay or Google Pay or whatever tap technology. And so whether you're talking about in-person giving or you're talking about online digital giving that way, what seemed like was a fringe use case just a few years ago is now really become a dominant way that on how people spend money. So I say that just to have that kind of in mind, that what may seem like a fringe way people are going to give or spend money now, having this knowledge and these plans in place now really ensure that you're ahead of the curve as this becomes an increasingly popular way for people to give money and spend money.
Yeah, I think it's certainly an interesting time. I mean, I've traveled recently where many of the places I've gone to are cashless. They only accept credit card and digital payments essentially. And I think we're increasingly living in a world where digital payments of whatever type is become sort of ubiquitous, and that's kind of what we should all expect. And so why not be able to give other types of assets via a digital process, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense. So I was going to say, giving crypto or stock with SecureGive is a frictionless pathway to generate donation commitments, and I think that's a really important part. As we studied stock giving and the habits of people who give stock, and then talked to lots and lots of ministries about it, what we found was a lot of times donations would be sent to their brokerage and they wouldn't necessarily know who they came from. So by using a digital interface, you're going to know from the very intent of the donors, the givers, goal to intent to give. You're going to know that from the immediate outset of the gift. You'll know who gave or who intends to give, where they live, their contact information, the asset, the amount. And for a lot of folks who receive stock gifts, they don't have that information readily available at the beginning of the transaction. And so by providing that, it's really helpful to track it and to make sure we're in touch with the giver if we need to be, and whatnot. Like cards, crypto donations are instant. So that's another great aspect of at least of crypto. Stocks take a little while longer, but crypto tends to be very instantaneous. Your ministry will never hold crypto or securities. So the way that this technology is structured is that neither your ministry or SecureGive will ever hold on to those physical assets. What you'll be receiving is the net payout from the sale of those assets, which is cash. So in terms of just being concerned about holding crypto or holding securities of any kind, that is not something that you'll have to do using this solution. And I say no more investigating. With stocks, you'll receive an email update throughout the stock transfer and liquidation and cash transfer process. If you've received stock gifts in the past, you will know that sometimes you have to do some investigating. You've got to call the broker, find out when something was given, who gave it. You might have to call and get more details about it. And that's just one of the pain points that we heard over and over again as we surveyed our crypto customers about their stock giving, and that they really wanted something that was proactive, that was feeding them information about a stock transaction as it was kind of working through its paces. So that's a really wonderful thing about this solution, is that you'll be receiving emails when the asset is received, when it's liquidated, when the cash is being sent to you, and whatnot. So it's no more investigating is a wonderful thing. It allows you to spend your time on something more valuable. Why is a non-cash digital giving solution is best? Well, the Engiven Foundation provides gift acknowledgement letters to the donor, and that's part of sort of the workflow that I was just talking about. All these asset donations will actually come into the Engiven Foundation, which is a 501c3. Basically, it's a donor advised fund, or DAF. We will handle all the gift acknowledgement, what have you, but you also receive all the same information we do, which means you're able to reach out to your giver and have a conversation with them, care for them, thank them, what have you. So to the next point, all donor data is supplied via the SecureGive application. So Greg's going to give you some examples of what that looks like. but you have all the information, which is great to care for your donor. No 8282 or 8283 forms are required because the gifts are technically going to our foundation. So you don't have to fill those out and send those in. We do that. And then all transaction-based support questions are handled by Engiven. So we'll figure it out for you. About 25% of stock gifts require some level of interaction, either talking to a broker, the brokerage that the stock came from, or even talking directly with the giver. And we do that. We'll make sure that we handle that to answer any questions they might have. Stock transfers, are a little bit more complicated depending on the type of asset, or even the type of account that they're coming from. So we're really experienced at making sure that we make that smooth.
And a couple things I want to just add to that.
Sure.
With anything digital, one of the benefits is keeping it in front of people. You have it on your website, and the second piece of that being on your website in a way that people can actually take action on it. It just removes some of that friction that could prevent somebody from doing it. If someone knows they can give stock, but they're not quite sure how, they have to go through their broker, or they have to, try to just kind of figure out their own way through it. It can be, potentially enough friction to say, I'll do it later. And later, as often becomes, it never actually happens. But with a digital process like this, it makes it easy to take those first steps, easy to get the transaction started. It makes it very bite-sized, very simple, and a very manageable process that's not going to be intimidating. And of course, there's a lot of benefits on the church side too, and no upfront work for you in terms of receiving those gifts. And as James and you mentioned already, you don't even have to hold those assets. You don't have to hold crypto. You don't hold stocks. It's just donated into your church as US dollars. So it's money that you can immediately use to do ministry with.
Yeah, it's such an important point. A lot of individuals who donate stock, for example, really allocate a portion of their portfolio to give away each year, and so they will tend to give to the organizations that they feel sort of closest to, and so they're going to give one way or the other. And I think that's what's so important, is to make sure that just to have a way of receiving it and just letting folks know we're here, we're ready to accept it, we can process it, we can answer your questions. You're much more likely to receive a gift from someone who, as I said, is for tax reasons is going to give. So maybe they'll give to you instead of to something else, a public charity maybe. People do tend to give more to their the places that they attend as where they attend church. So great point, Greg, and just being ready is I think so important. One of the things I wanted to do is share some of the questions that we have received, or statements I should say, that we've received kind of over the years. And I wanted just to respond, because these do still happen today. And the first one is, I don't know if I'll receive any crypto donations. And I wanted to give some examples, and these examples are all organizations that came to us and said, well, we're kind of interested in crypto, but we don't know if we have any givers or donors or whatever. So the first one was a church. It was actually a church in Minnesota. They had a capital campaign, and they raised $400,000 in crypto on the very first day of their crypto campaign. And they had no idea if they had any crypto givers. I remember the pastor called us and was just so excited. He just couldn't believe that it was a real thing. We had a small ministry that received a $10 million Bitcoin donation, which was just incredible. They weren't expecting it, and it radically changed the makeup of what they do in the ministry that they do. We just 2 weeks ago, we had a nonprofit that builds living communities for families of autistic children. They received a $1 million Bitcoin donation to purchase land, which again, they were not expecting that. And then we recently had a university who received a $15 million crypto donation for medical research. And so I say I know these are all large gifts. There's hundreds and hundreds of examples of a $5,000 gift, or even $1,000 gift, or what have you. The point is that most of our clients that come to us don't necessarily have a pool of crypto people ready to give. They just sort of set the table and then let folks know that they can come and dine, and it's worked out really, really well. I think there's clearly there's more individuals out there that have crypto and are generous than we might otherwise realize. Here's another one. No one is asked to donate stock. In 2020, and I love to tell the story, in 2005, people didn't ask to tithe or give using credit cards. And I was around at that time, and I heard a lot of churches say, "Oh, credit cards, people aren't going to want to do that." And now we all know that it's a big part of all of our giving. More than $5 billion in stock donations will be given to ministries in 2024 by individual donors. So that's a lot just going to ministries in America. That's information is provided by the IRS. So I'm assuming it's pretty accurate. And Given's average stock gift in 2024 so far this year is over $11,000, more than twice the industry average. I do think people tend to give more to their churches when they give stock, and that's great for everyone. And if you talk about stock giving, it will come. Everyone, if you just look at the 62%, 60% of the families in your ministries that are involved and call your church or your ministry home, they have stock to give. Okay, so now Greg is going to give us a firsthand look at the new integrations.
So one thing as I'm pulling this up, I want to mention, we did a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and we were looking at donor behavior, some research behind that. And one of the things that was overwhelmingly represented in the research is that people who regularly attend church overwhelmingly prioritize giving to their church more so than any other nonprofit or charity that they're going to give to. So that just kind of underscores the importance of making sure people in your church know this is an opportunity, because people who are regularly involved in your church is likely their top priority in terms of where they're going to give. And if they're not giving some of these gifts to your church, it's a good chance it's because they don't know they can. Or don't know maybe what opportunities or things that your church can accomplish through those gifts. So just know that the people who attend your church are going to prioritize giving to your church. So make it clear to them. So what you're seeing right now is a SecureGive interface, what it looks like for a church. So if your church is using SecureGive, this is going to be familiar to you. Of course, the colors, some of the options might look a little bit different depending on your organization. But what we've been able to do by working with Engiven is take their crypto and stock giving capability and bring it right inside of SecureGive. So it's all in one simple spot. So someone can give to your church in any way using this, this one platform. So I just want to walk through real quick just to show you what it looks like to give a stock and what it looks like to give crypto through this, just to kind of show you the simplicity of it. So I just chose that I wanted to give a stock. From here, I can choose a category that I want this to go to. So these are the same categories if someone is giving by card, ACH, whatever. These categories are the same. People can give to them just the same way. So let's say I want to give to a Christmas offering. I want to give to it. And then I'm going to choose what I want to give. So I can just start typing. Let's say I've got some Tesla I want to give. And this is going to search to see, what stock matches what I'm putting in there. And let's say I'm going to donate 3 shares of Tesla. I'm going to hit next. It's going to prompt me to sign in here, or if I don't have an account, I can easily create one. It just takes, a couple quick steps. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And so once I sign in here, I'm already at my confirmation. So I'm already initiated the process, and I've got a few just simple steps and pieces of information I'll need to use to complete that transaction and get that stock transferred. Now, the donor also receives this same thing in an email. So what's really helpful about that is, if they have a broker they work with that manages their portfolio form, they can literally forward this email to them, and their broker can take it from there and get it transferred over. And of course, like we've talked about, these 3 shares of Tesla aren't going straight to your church. These 3 shares of Tesla are being liquidated. And so the US dollar value of those shares is what goes straight to your church. So you're not having to manage that. You're not having to worry about taking care of liquidating that. It's all done for you right here through this process. So that's really how quick and easy it is for someone to initiate a stock gift. And again, the really great part about this is it takes something that is going to potentially be overwhelming to somebody and make it really easy to get started. that right now. Now, someone just mentioned that their app doesn't show the stock and crypto options. We'll talk in a moment about how we can add that for your account. It is for everybody using SecureGive. We've made it free to get you started for these next couple months for December and January, because we know that this is a great opportunity for stock and crypto gifts. We want to make that free to use this for these next couple months so you can really leverage it during the end of year giving season. And I'll talk more about that in just a second. Now, before we move on, I'm going to go back to my church, my main giving page. I'm going to choose my campus here. And this time, rather than stock, I'm going to select to do a crypto gift. Again, I can choose my category that I want to give to. So let's say Christmas offering again. I want to choose how I would like to give. I can choose from 90 something different coins, I believe, are what are available in here. So pretty much any coin that somebody has or somebody uses is going to be available through this process to give. And then it asks how much you'd like to give. And here's what's really handy is Bitcoin, as James just mentioned, hit $100,000 last night in value. So obviously one coin is going to be a very large value. So I can see one coin here and I can see the monetary value associated with that. But the unique thing with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency as compared to stock is you can donate a fraction of a coin. So if I want to donate, half of this value, for example, or I want to do it maybe $25,000 worth of Bitcoin, I don't have to try to do the math and figure out what percentage of a coin it is. Instead, I can just click here and now I'm going to enter it in US dollars. So instead I can say, I want to give $25,000 worth of Bitcoin. And now it does the math for me and shows me exactly how much is going to be donated to make to equate to $25,000 based on the current value of Bitcoin at this moment. So obviously it can fluctuate a little bit if if a little bit of time passes before the gift is processed, but it gives the donor a great place to make sure they can give the amount they want to give. I'm going to hit next. And from here, it gives a few simple pieces of information, but this QR code makes it really easy for someone to scan it, and it's going to make it very simple for this gift to be completed from their crypto wallet, from whatever they're using. And now you might be thinking like, well, how's somebody going to know what to do at this point? If someone is using cryptocurrency, if someone holds cryptocurrency, then they are familiar with this process already. This is not new to them. So you may seem like this is something kind of odd for digital giving. And if you don't use crypto at all, it may feel that way. But for people who actually do use cryptocurrency, this is going to be a completely normal process for them to go through. Once they send that money over, that coin, just like stock, it's going to be liquidated to US dollars, and then it'll be distributed to your church. So you don't have to hold Bitcoin. You don't have to have a crypto wallet that your church is managing. Makes it very simple. And if you're, an admin for a church, or you're in, SecureGive or whatever system regularly managing giving, you don't have to know anything about cryptocurrency. You don't have to know anything about stocks to be able to receive these gifts as your church, receive these gifts for your church. So again, through Engiven, we've been able to really just simplify this process and make it very straightforward. Now, I'm gonna close out my screen share here. And as we wrap up today, first of all, again, if you have any more questions, we've answered some as we've gone. We have a few more minutes here. So if you have any questions, you have a few more minutes to get those into the Q&A and ask myself or ask James. But I want to kind of follow up on what I mentioned earlier about this being available to any SecureGive customer right now. So if you're already using SecureGive, all you have to do is go to securegive.com/noncash. Again, securegive.com/noncash. There's a simple form to fill out there. Fill that out, and our team will get back with you so we can get this turned on for your church. So if you don't see it right now, that's just because you haven't opted into the trial to be able to start trying this out for your church. So again, securegive.com/noncash. $0 a month for December and January. Again, we want this to be in your hands for you to be able to use it in this end of year giving season. If you use it for December and January and you want to keep it, then by all means, we can keep that on your account. It's $99 a month. If you use it for January or December and January and you don't feel like it's valuable for your church, it's not something you want to keep on there, just let us know. We take it off. You're not going to be charged a cent for it. So there's really a no losing situation, just to give it a try and see if maybe this makes a difference for your church in this end of year giving season. Now, if you don't currently use SecureGive, just shoot an email to grow@securegive.com. Again, that's grow@securegive.com. Our team will talk with you. We can look at, if the SecureGive system is the best option for your church, if using cryptocurrency stock giving through SecureGive works for your church. We can have that conversation. Nobody's going to try to pressure you into anything. We'll see if this makes sense for you and this is a good fit. So definitely take that opportunity, especially if your church is already using SecureGive. Leverage this new giving, this new generosity opportunity for end of year giving this year. Now, a few questions that are coming in. So asking if this data transfers to the church management system. It does. And actually, that reminds me, there's something I didn't show you as I was doing a quick demo. So let me show you this real quick, and I'll jump back into the question about your church management system. So let me go back to my screen share, because what I didn't show you is give you an idea of what this looks like on the administrative side within SecureGive. So if you're familiar with our dashboard, our backend, then you're familiar with something like this our all transaction report. And all of this is just to show you that by using stock, by using crypto and SecureGive and keeping it all in one system, literally every gift given to your church is right here in one place, easy to manage. You got credit card transactions, stock, crypto, debit, ACH. All of these things are going to be right here in your transaction report. And then when it comes time to doing giving statements, so I know end of year giving is what we're focused on right now, but in a couple months, giving statements are going to be what everybody's trying to do and get out the door. And of course, you're going to make that as easy as possible. Then their online gifts from whatever method, card, check, whatever, are going to be included on the giving statement right there with stock gifts and cryptocurrency gifts. So it really simplifies that process for how you communicate end of year giving to your church. And then just one more quick view here. If you select into any of these transactions and into a stock transaction here, you'll see all the same details you would for a card transaction. But also in the bottom part here, since this was a $100,000 transaction, what you'll actually see too, though, is what was that donated as. So you can see, it was, X number of shares of Tesla, X number of shares of Apple, or whatever. It'll show exactly what was given there too. So you'll have all of that information all in one place. Now, does this sync to your management system? If your management system is already syncing with SecureGive, then this information is also going to sync along with the rest of those transactions. So this will function for you exactly as if someone gave via debit card on your website or with their phone, iPhone at a kiosk or whatever. It's all going to work the same for you in terms of how that transfers to your church management system. And yes, to that question, the method will show as crypto just as it does in stock. In that current view, we didn't have any recent crypto transactions that were showing on there, but it'll show crypto just like it would show stock, and it'll give you all the details just like it would for stock as well. So how quickly does that set up to add stock and crypto to an existing account? It's very quick. There's a few pieces of information we may need that we wouldn't normally have. For example, for setting up SecureGive, we don't necessarily need to know your organization's incorporation date. That's a piece of information we do need to know to get you set up for stock and crypto. But we probably have just about everything else we need. So again, just go to securegive.com/noncash. Fill out that form. That will get your information immediately in front of our team so they can follow up with you, and they'll get any information from you that they don't already have. And once we have that information, it is quick to get this turned on. There's not some long wait time or anything. There's not approvals we have to wait for. I mean, we can flip the switch and get it turned on once we have all the information to get your account set up. And one question here, what are the best 3 to 4 tips for executing this? And so I would definitely want to kick this to you, James. What are some of your tips for being successful with stock and crypto donations in your church? And I would say, in particular, for a church that hasn't done this before, has never talked about this before, where do you start, and what have you seen be successful with the churches you guys work with?
Yeah, I always start with make sure you're set up. So make sure you have a place for people to go so that if someone asks, specifically, oh, go here. This is where you can go to make a crypto or stock. If that's the first thing. Second thing is that I believe that non-cash giving should be part of all of your giving moments. So every church is obviously a little bit different in terms of how you talk about giving and whatnot. But wherever you do that, whenever you do that, whether it's just putting something in your bulletin, whether it's through any kind of communications via email or even social media, what have you, what we have seen time and time again is that the ministries and churches that talk about non-cash giving, we've certainly seen this with crypto as well. When they say, "Hey, we're excited to accept crypto now," that be just announcing it and just making it part of a giving moment, they receive far more gifts than the churches that only that essentially will only respond when someone asks that. So be proactive about it. Ask, and people will give. I think the other thing is just be ready to answer if someone asks. Say for example, they call the finance office and they say, "Well, I want to give a gift of stock. I've never done this before." My suggestion is make sure that they get connected with if there's someone at your organization, great. But if not, make sure they get connected to support at Engiven, and we'll be more than happy to have a conversation and kind of walk them through that process. Because again, different brokerages have a different process. Some are very streamlined and it's super easy to give. Other ones are a little more convoluted. So just know that they have someone that they can go to and sort of be armed with that data, so you can say, "Oh, go here," and we'll make sure we provide all that information to you.
And one thing I'll just add to that, James, and this is really just kind of a natural byproduct of doing all this in SecureGive, is I know a lot of churches out there, and your church, wherever you're watching from, you probably either are putting a QR code on screen when you're talking about giving during the service, or maybe you have QR codes on the backs of seats, on the backs of pews, or maybe you have some QR codes around the building. The great thing with this is if you can have a single QR code, a single link for people to give, that can be all encompassing. So right from one spot, they can give card transactions, they can give by ACH, but they also have that ability right there to give cryptocurrency and to give stock. So they're not having to hunt and find the right place to do it. It's one simple spot that handles all of it. And so again, when we're talking about giving, there's always a big aspect of this that is removing friction, because a little bit of friction creates a little bit of hesitation, and a little bit of hesitation makes you say, "I'll do it later," and doing it later often turns into never actually getting around to it. One more question we have here, and again, we have just a couple more minutes, so if you have another question, still feel free to drop it in there. Ask about the cost of it. So the way the cost works on this through SecureGive, again, for right now, for December, January, $0 a month. It is $99 a month after that. And then every transaction is a 4% transaction fee, which is there to cover all the costs that come along with the system that makes all of this happen. So that's a flat fee, 4% that comes along with each transaction from that. And what you'll see as you look at different crypto and if there's other stock options out there, and one thing we're really trying to do and why we work with Engiven on this is because we want to make sure this stays affordable for churches. We want to make sure that this makes sense for churches to use and make it really easy and low maintenance for you. So I think that probably wraps everything up. If you have more questions after this, just shoot us an email, grow@securegive.com. Again, your current customer, you want to take advantage of this, securegive.com/noncash. securegive.com/noncash. Thank you guys so much for being with us today. James, thank you for being with us. Thank you for bringing so much knowledge and wisdom and background when it comes to stock and crypto giving, something that I know is not familiar to a lot of us out there. So definitely thank you so much. And for all of the church leaders and pastors here, and we are praying for you in this season. We know that this is the busiest season in church, but also can potentially be the most fruitful season in your ministry. And so we're praying for strong year-end giving in your church, but we're also just praying for great Christmas services, for great impact in your community. And ultimately, what everything is about, we're not about making, building a big bank account for our church. It's about funding ministry that changes people's lives, that leads people to Jesus. So we are praying that over your church over this season. So we hope you have an incredible Christmas season. Again, have questions, let us know, and we'll see you next time.